We've been in Cannes over the past week or so talking to the great and the good of the industry about what this festival is supposed to all be about, and that's creativity.
My first time in Cannes, and I can see creativity everywhere, but it feels, from what I understand, there is a division between it being a traditional creative festival and suddenly you've got all these tech firms that are gathering around in their yachts. So that then poses the question, where is the creativity coming from these days?
Well, absolutely. This is a data, technology, content-fueled ecosystem now. The rules have changed. Media is so much more central to what was traditionally the preserve of a handful of creative agencies, really. That does create its own tensions. There are divisions. This particular area,
particularly around the actual conference centre, is just very traditional creative focus.
Absolutely.
It's like the campaigns are all in there, but then you come a little bit further out and it's just a different environment.
Well, over the past few days, we've chatted to a range of businesses, from traditional creative agencies to media agencies, media owners to tech companies, and even some authors and experts to find out what they think about creativity.
I think that one of the most important phenomena that we are facing today is the change in terms of the consumer journeys. Yeah, we have different consumer journeys today. In the past, consumer journeys were very linear. It was very easy to create awareness, very easy to engage with people, very easy to convince people even to buy our products. Today, the consumer journeys are much more complex. Yeah, there are zillions of touch points everywhere. Yeah, so to build an equity today is one of the most challenging questions that you can ask to a marketeer. Yeah, so how do you do that? And I think that part of the answer is understanding where your consumer is and how you can contextualize your message, how you can create content, that is not quite advertising, and developing content is something that I think marketeers are still learning.
Trust in brands and trust in advertising used to be very much based on beliefs, and the strong brand commercial messages. You create a belief around a brand and a brand promise, and people believe that. But now they don't. Trust doesn't mean the same thing anymore. Nowadays, people don't trust in a belief basis. They trust their experiences. What do their peers say? What do they experience from the service? What's the utility of that brand? So creativity is about creating immersive experiences. Immersive experiences are much more valuable than just a one-directional message. And immersive experiences is about utility for brands. It's about creating that engagement through creativity that's much more involving.
The consumers are driving it, and what's happening is a lot of the brands are trying to catch up to where consumers are. The brands are still in the mindset often of, it needs to be a TVC. And okay, we've got the TVC now, let's post it on, that's a video, we put it online. And what we found in this study in particular, a lot of the branded content is really ill-suited for the mobile environment. So it doesn't have, it requires sound. It doesn't, and if it doesn't require sound, often it will be a less optimal experience. You need to have, subtitles and an optimal experience for the online video. It's just, most people watch online video on silent. You have to have the narrative arc, very active part at the beginning, not overly branded at the start, but active. It doesn't mean you don't have your brand in it, actually, is what we found. You can have your brand in it and make it successful, but you just have to have the brand in an appropriate way. If it's a spaghetti sauce, you're not going to have a big logo at the beginning. It'll be on the table, and then you can build up to the moment where you have that closer relationship where you're showing the actual brand.
At a festival that is obviously all about people and their creativity, these days they're even starting to question whether we need the people. Maybe it's going to be the robots wandering around in Cannes with their sunglasses on soon, doing all the creative work.
Well, it's interesting that most people say creativity is something that's uniquely human, and so that ought to be safe. And yet, within advertising, there are many good examples of what we see, what you might call bounded creativity, where you've got creativity that has clearly defined boundaries. And within those boundaries, we are seeing algorithms that can undertake creative tasks. I mean, for example, there are dynamically generated advertisements. When what you have is essentially a template, and then algorithms can generate, untold numbers of combinations of elements. They can create entirely new presentations, and they can test that against actual data, to see how people are responding to that. And that's something that obviously a person could never do, but a machine can do it. And yet, in this sense, it is creativity. It's something entirely new that didn't exist before. So we are seeing, algorithms and machines move into that space gradually.
Yeah.
For
Gradually,
now,
what's the time scale on this?
Well, it's happening now again in these more limited areas. I think it will be some time before we see machines really taking on big picture, genuinely creative ideas. Before you see a machine that can come up with a unique idea, that can design the template for one of these ads, or can conceive of a television advertisements or something like that. That still clearly lies in the future, but we are seeing a definite encroachment on some areas that might be perceived as creative.
So I talked a little bit about some of the forces that are coming, that are already here and getting larger, and one of them is making things smarter, sometimes making them very smart, but making them smarter in a different way than humans are smart. So that's the chief value of the AIs, is that they think differently than us, and sometimes better than us in particular narrow categories. And that's very, very useful. And the second thing that I emphasize is that you can purchase this as a commodity, as a utility. It will be access to almost everybody. And then we're going to take something and add AI to it, and that's going to be the kind of recurring theme for the next 10 to 20 years.
My instinct is it is starting to emerge, and it will emerge in our industry almost, imperceptibly, and then it will just explode. And I think the door that it will enter through will be in the area of programmatic, and that area of automation of the marketing machine, and effectively it will come in and just take control of lots of the micro decision moments that happen in our business, and then it probably will sort of percolate up through our industry to the point where creative directors will have an outsourced kind of creative department of 300, 500 or 1,000 minds that effectively are artificial intelligence, that are there creating campaigns that allow the creatives to be almost like executive creative directors, sitting there editing and deciding and shaping, as opposed to they themselves generating it. So the transformational effect on our business is really can't be overstated enough.
So, the key message then is that AI is nothing to be feared, because I'm sure there are a lot of people that worry about it.
There is, and there will be certain roles and jobs that will disappear, but there will be far more new roles and jobs created that we find difficult to imagine right now, and partly that will be generated and created by the AIs and the robots, enabling us to do things that we haven't done before.
The year of mobile is what everyone's been talking about for about a decade now. What we're talking about now is this whole new generation of technology, which is VR, which is everywhere here. Samsung's got its big demonstration. Everybody's really talking about it. But it's hard to know whether people really have the conviction to use this as their new medium of creativity. I chatted with Microsoft and with Google about the ways in which they're going to be using VR to boost their creativity.
I actually just was on the Expeditions. I don't know if you've had a chance to do that.
No.
But we introduced a new product last year that basically enabled teachers. We now have this capability in 1 million schools, or actually with 1 million students around the world, actually allowing students to go on virtual reality experiences underwater, up to Yosemite, into the International Space Station. It's incredible. And the way you can bring that immersive experience to students all around the world, incredible opportunities for VR.
I think the level of immersion and focus that VR offers, and therefore the level of creative opportunity is phenomenal. People used to get excited by 3D. This is, you're in the pool, you're feeling the water. It's funny, I did a bunch of demos recently, and I was like a little kid. I was sitting on the floor thinking this dinosaur is actually walking. You react, you engage, you feel.
I've actually got a video of me with a whale coming towards me doing VR, and I duck out the whale. You look insane.
Yeah, but it's so visceral and real. So I think that ability, we always had sight, sound, and motion. Now we have emotion and maybe sense.
So it's incredibly exciting when you think about how immersive experiences can meet brand advertising. It's always this area of impact, which is a huge opportunity, and I think virtual reality brings kind of the opportunity. If you look at some of the car advertising, for example, there's some recent ads that have been done by BMW and Volvo, where you're not only watching the car do its windy turn down the mountain, but you're actually physically in that experience. It's amazing. So I think when you couple that impact with the reach and scale that YouTube can deliver, that's really where the magic starts to happen.
And what can brands learned from these YouTubers and influencers on how to use these platforms?
Actually, I think that we're so at the beginning of what virtual reality enables for everyone in storytelling. So whether it's a brand or it's our creators, and we're really committed to helping the creators figure it out. So we have a lot of technology now in our YouTube studios around the world where creators can come in, learn, experiment, and figure out what's going to work for them.
Now, we've seen a huge amount over this week, and there's been various announcements, various news stories that have emerged from the Croisette, but one of the more unusual ones was the connected couch. I grabbed Dominic Delpour, the Group Managing Director for Havas Media, straight after the announcement to find out what that was all about.
I mean, I think that clients expect from us to bring more innovation on the table, more disruptive ideas, and to help them becoming more makers. So we add everything, and the French team during 7 months created that Marty project, Marty like Back to the Future, which is a connected couch. There is probably 15 to 20 technology from geofencing to voice OS, including all the geeky devices and cool factors that you can expect from that. And from your coach, you can also try to understand what's going to be the new boundaries between professional life and personal life, because we know that work, it's everything, especially with that 24/7 connectivity. So really understanding where you can just switch off, where you can switch on, where you can move from a entertainment session to a massage or kind of cool meditation moment. So everything is embedded. So you see a couch, but in fact there is incredible technology that has been literally designed and then built by the Havas crew.
It's been a week of firsts here out in Cannes. It was your first Cannes. How did you find it?
I was a bit concerned at the beginning. I went a bit too hard, too fast, but it's come to the end, and I think I'm going to be very sad to leave. I've really enjoyed it.
But of course, creativity is at the heart of this event, and it's been fascinating exploring what creativity is going to mean in 5-10 years' time down the line. And we hope that you've enjoyed our first feature documentary. If you've got any opinions on where creativity is going, we'd love to hear from you. Get in touch. And until the next time on the Croisette, thank you very much.
Thank you.